All right, how's everybody doing today? Oh wait, see, this is what happens when you follow Night Out. How's everybody doing today? Make sure that all of our folks joining from home at the virtual summit are having fun. I am thrilled that you are here because I have to admit something to you all. I am obsessed with brands. That's right, I am obsessed with brands. Let me tell you, if you go back to Los Angeles, at my home, in my garage, I have a 4-door Jeep Wrangler Sahara, and I have only driven Jeep Wranglers for the past 25 years because I am obsessed with Jeeps. And let me tell you, are there any Disney folks in the house? Disney folks, I am obsessed with Disney theme parks. I have been to every Disney theme park around the world, from Shanghai to Paris, and when I was 13 years old, I conned my parents into letting me do foreign exchange and go to school in Japan secretly so I could just go to Tokyo Disneyland after it opened in 1983. Because we live in a world that is obsessed with brands, and today I want you to build a brand that people are obsessed with, that you have amazing fans. Now, people come up to me all of the time and they're like, Jason, I want to work with you because I don't have a brand. What do you think I say when someone says, I don't have a brand? Yeah, that's a problem. Yes, of course you do. That's it, right? We all have a brand. You have a brand. You have a brand. I have a brand. They have a brand. The real question is, are you consciously, competently making strategic choices to show up and lead with the brand that you want? Or are you on autopilot and you are being defined by your job title, or the boss that you work for, or the last thing that your team did, as opposed to the value that you bring? So today we're here to talk all about brands, but pull out your phones again. And Terry, let's go ahead and switch in to our survey. I want to know what your favorite brand is. We're going to get that up here in a second. There we go. What is your favorite brand? Go ahead and put that in. Terry, go ahead and hit I again for those folks that need the QR code. You can scan that there, or visit menti.com, put in 68138087. Okay, I see some phones up. At home, you can scan your screen or visit menti.com and put that manual code in. Terry, let's bring that down. All right, okay, look at this. Apple, number 1. I see Target up there. What else? Ooh, Chanel, Under Armour, Patagonia, Target, Rogue Fitness, all sorts of amazing brands that you have coming up here. So do me a favor, this is interactive. Everyone in the room, stand up. Everybody stand up. I want you to turn to a partner that you don't know, and I want you to share your favorite brand, but more importantly, I want you to share why it's your favorite brand. What does it make you do? And go. All right, shh. We're coming on back in. Shh. For those of you in the room, give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for meeting some folks and talking about your favorite brand. By far, both in this room and at home, our most favorite brand on that poll was Apple. Where's my Apple people? Whether you're an Apple fan or you work for Apple, right? Because here's the deal. This little guy, this is a smartphone, but none of us call it that, right? Because it's the iPhone. We love Apple. When I talk to people about why they love Apple, they say because, wow, it looks really cool. It comes in that cool box, right? And I also hear from people, you know what? It's so easy to use. Everything works together, and that's so true. My 75-year-old mom just got a new iPhone, and I went over and we just scanned her old one, and it went all up into iCloud, and it made it super easy. A woman who's not technologically savvy at all. But I will tell you, my very first Apple product, the Apple IIc computer. Why did my mom buy it back in 1985? She bought it because it was super easy. It only had 4 things in the box: a monitor, a CPU, 2 cords. We flipped the switch and it was the first home computer with BASIC built in, if you're old enough to remember that, what BASIC was, right? But it was easy and it was cool back then, because when my mom opened that station wagon trunk, everyone in our neighborhood knew what that gigantic white box with the rainbow apple at the time was all about. But let's talk about brands. What does it make people do? You know what? To get my new iPhone, I waited in line. When most retail stores are going out of business in the brick and mortar place, people are waiting in line at an Apple store. Are people waiting in line for you? Let's take a look at another brand like Starbucks. I love thinking of Starbucks as a brand celebrating their 50th anniversary because guess what? Coffee is the world's oldest commodity. It's the first thing that as human beings, we traded in markets. And you know, when something just becomes commoditized, we are looking for the lowest price. Your coffee is the same as their coffee, is the same as my coffee. I just want to get it from the cheapest place. But Starbucks came in and suddenly we spend a lot of money for a cup of coffee. How much did someone spend on coffee this morning or their average coffee? $30, $6, right? But we know the average transaction price is probably over $5 here in North America, which is probably more than what most of you pay for a gallon of gas. We are complaining about the cost of gas all of the time, but you saw here in this hotel and you saw at the Las Vegas airport, both of those Starbucks had gigantic queues like they were at Disney World because we're all willing to wait in line for Starbucks. But guess what? That is a thoughtful choice because the co-founder of Starbucks did foreign exchange in Italy during college and said, I want Starbucks to feel like a great European coffee house. What it should feel like is great smelling coffee. It should feel like people can come and hang out all day. It should feel like you know the people who make your coffee. And what is in a Starbucks today that is still all about that? Yell it out. Free Wi-Fi, electrical outlets. You all know someone that is working remotely all of the time from their local Starbucks, and they don't even have employees. What do they have? Baristas. They created their own language, right? They don't have small, medium, and large. They have talls and ventis and grandes and trentas. They created their own Latin root language because that's what great brands do. They have a whole language about themselves. So here is my question to you all in your career. Are you coffee or are you Starbucks? In your career, are you a commodity worker that's just defined by your job title and you're interchangeable based on career band or job code at your company? Or are you a super premium brand like Starbucks that has people waiting in line? People waiting in line to get your advice, people waiting in line to get your insights, people waiting in line because they want you to join their team. And that's what we want to talk about today. So my name is Jason Patria. I'm a personal branding expert, a diversity advocate, and I'm the host of the popular Lead with Your Brand podcast. Now, I am on a mission to help drive workforce engagement with you all, because that's what you're all here to do via your ERGs, by helping you find your true brand voice and bring your best authentic self to work every single day. Now, I spent over 25 years working in Hollywood, and over the years, I've coached, trained, and developed over 10,000 leaders in entertainment, media, and tech. And I will tell you, my favorite thing to do is business transformation. Because whenever you do a business transformation, you typically talk about brand because it's about getting in tune with your customers and really deciding what it is that you stand for and who you are. So you can see some of those brands that I worked with. I know we've got some Bravo fans in the house and Telemundo fans and all of those great folks. I will tell you, I was working with Telemundo about 15 years ago with their chief marketing officer at the time, Jackie Hernandez. She was rolling out the new Telemundo brand, which, by the way, enabled Telemundo to come from basically nowhere to beat Univision for the very first time in Spanish language media. And I suddenly thought, when I was working with her as the chief marketing officer, how come we always go to the HR people when we talk about personal brands? Shouldn't we be going to the chief marketing officer? And so today, what we are doing is we are going to look at a brand marketer's toolkit to help you define and refine your brand so that you can get people waiting in line for you, so that you can have super fans. And of course, you can tell I, like you all, spent a lot of time in the corporate world with a gay job and a day job. I ran out at NBC Universal for over 15 years, and I actually worked on their brand as well as the brand of the Los Angeles LGBT Center and the Denver Center. But let's jump in. What's a brand anyways? What's a brand? A promise. Good. What else? An identity, good. What else? Recognition. Okay, I love all of these. Here's what I think the easier way to look at it is what a brand isn't. These are all of the things that we typically think a brand is, but it is not. It is not. Now, I see some folks taking pictures of slides. Thank you. Guess what? If you look on your phone, if you want copies of the slides and all of the materials, you can put your info in there and we'll send it to everyone on Monday as well. But take as many pictures as you want. But a brand, it's not a logo. It's not a tagline. It's not an ad. It's not a product. So guess what? If you put one of those cute little, I'm putting a quote in new colors in my own font at the bottom of my Outlook signature, that's not a brand. If you go out to the store and buy a fancy new outfit to show up for a meeting at work, that's not really your brand. That's just all of this stuff. Here's what a brand is. A brand is the sum of all of the experiences, all of the information, and all of the expectations that define an organization or offering for its target audience. So what's that a picture of? DNA. So this is really your brand DNA that you want to focus on that influences all of those other things. It influences those other things. So let me read this to you again. Your brand is the sum of all of the experiences, all of the information, and all of the expectations that define you to your target audience. So let's take a look at this brand. Any Nike folks in the house or Nike fans? Yes. If I told you that Nike did not sell shoes, what would you say that they sell? If they don't sell apparel, what do they really sell? What type of lifestyle? Athletic. What else? Inclusive. What else? Passion, sporty, winning, overcoming obstacles, being your personal best. If all of those things are really the Nike brand, suddenly don't all of these things make sense? Because a swoosh is like moving forward and winning. A tagline like just do it says take some action. When we see an advertisement that has transgender athletes performing, when we see an ad campaign with Colin Kaepernick that some people think is controversial, it's 100% on brand for Nike, right? Because it's about overcoming obstacles. It's about doing your personal best. It's about taking a stand. And that's ultimately what your brand DNA needs to do. It needs to help guide all of these things. So let's take a look. The bottom line is your brand is all about expectations. Now, for those of you here live, you can open your workbook here. We've got the 5 steps that we're gonna walk you through. If you are joining us on Pathable, you can download that out of the tabs there and print it out later. We're gonna go through these 5 steps. Now, I know these 5 steps, it's a lot to cover, but guess what? If you look on your phone, if you want to give your info, we'll send you all of this plus a 5 steps to lead with your guide, your lead with your brand PDF workbook that will help you with some activities to put all of this into practice. And check out our podcast, Lead with Your Brand. It comes out every Tuesday. We talk to cool leaders, and we worked with O&ESummit to curate a Pride on Brand collection. It's got some of your favorite O&ESummit folks on it, like Aaron Uritas, Dina Fidas is on there. We have Congressman Mark Takano, celebrity chef Susan Feniger, and even Telly Leong, Broadway's Aladdin, all out LGBT folks talking about how they lead with their brand and have met their career breakthroughs. But let's step into step number 1, which is define your audience. Here's what great marketers know. If you are trying to be something to everyone, you are nothing to no one. Let me say it again. If you are trying to be something to everyone, you end up being nothing to no one. You have got to define your target audience. Now, one of my favorite brands that I worked with about 20 years ago was Bravo. Now, I worked with Bravo in the days when they were moving from Cirque du Soleil and Inside the Actors Studio to Top Chef and Project Runway and Queer Eye and all of those great buzzy shows. Well, you know what they said? They said, we will not have a relevant business if we are just trying to please everyone. We need to focus on a target audience. And this is who they said they needed to target. This is who they said were their true super fans. They said, we serve the Wills and Graces of the world, and we serve the PTA trendsetters. Now I'm hearing chuckles in the room. How many of you know some Wills and Graces? There's a lot of Wills and Graces sitting in this room, right? Now, here's the deal though. It's not a demographic, it was a psychographic. It was an avatar that represents the way that people think, behave, and what they want, need, and care about. So were there straight guys that watched Bravo? Yes, but they operated like Wills and Graces because they liked brunch and they liked going to the museum and Broadway and movies, and they liked a little Perez Hilton gossip on the side there too, right? So it wasn't about the demographic, it was about the mindset. And those PTA trendsetters, you know what? Those were those cool moms in the suburbs that were a little Sex in the City in the suburbs. You all know some of them. I think there's some of our PTA trendsetters right here in this room, right? And so again, it was about a mindset or an avatar. And guess what? This took them from almost not being rated to being in the top 20 of cable networks, and then the top 10, and then the top 5. And that's why you all are still streaming and watching all of these shows today, because they said, we are gonna super serve these super fans. So here's my question to you. In your career, what avatars exist? What avatars exist in your career universe? You want to do the same thing. Now, here's the deal. I'm not saying that we turn people away. We clearly can't do that in our career or in business. We have to work with everyone. But I want you to put your marketing efforts into the people that truly love you. Who are your raving fans? Who are your super fans that you have? Now, I know we gave you all some great Post-its, and if you're playing at home, I know you've got Post-its at your desk as well. Your homework is I want you to go through and write down the names of all of the people in your career that you consider super fans. And I want you to put one name per Post-it. I want you to stick them up on the wall, and I want you to challenge yourself to look at those names and not group them by demographics. We're not going to do that. You're not going to put, oh, these are my internal clients, these are my teammates, these are my direct reports. None of that. Regardless of where they fall in the organization structure or outside of the organization, how would you bring them into avatars that act and need the same thing from you? How could you put that into 2, 3, maybe even 4 buckets? So it's a little challenging, but think of it. When you went to high school, what were some of the avatars that exist in high school? Yell it out. The jocks. Who else? Burnouts, the cheerleaders, the stoners, the tech geeks, right? The theater kids, right? You saw all of those avatars exist in a high school setting. Now you're creating it for yourself and the way they interact with you. So let me give you an example from my own brand. Over the years, I have realized that my super fans are 3 different avatars. The first one I call the true believers. These are people that believe the same thing that I do. That DEI is important, that people can unlock potential in themselves, that everyone has the opportunity to be the best them that they can be. Those are folks that show up for my sessions. Those are folks that ask me to come in and do business transformation. They believe in the same thing, right? That was the easy one. Then I realized, you know what? My second avatar, I call them the too cool for schools. You know why? Because they work in entertainment and media and tech, and they are the smartest person in the room. They hate rules, they hate HR, they hate legal, they hate that finance tells them what to do, but by the way, they all work in huge companies. And they are super cool. And you know what? When they need to do something about people that's touchy-feely, they're like, you know what? Maybe Jason can do that because he's kind of cool enough to sit at our table. Right? Those are the too cool for schools. And then finally, I have the folks that I call my third avatar, the outsourcers. These are folks that are super smart, super intelligent, great at strategy, know how to lead teams, and they know that they need to have rah-rah and inspiration, but they know that they aren't the person to do it. They would die to go on stage. They would die to get people doing team building and things like that. So you know what they do? They outsource it to Jason instead of doing it themselves. They say, this is important, but it's not authentically who I am, so let me bring in someone who can do that. So take a moment right now, and I want you to think, just high level, what might be one or two avatars that exist in your career universe? Talk to the person next to you for a moment, and go. All right, shh, we're coming on back in. I know we could talk even more, but guess what? We still have the rest of today to interact with folks. Here's your homework. I want you to grab those Post-its, and when you get back home over this weekend or next week, I want you to write out all of those names. I want you to bring them into different circles or avatars, and then you've got in your workbook here, you can have up to 3 or 4 avatars. But once you do it, what you need to write in is, what do they really need from you? What do they really want? And what are the things that they care about? So let me give you an example. My too cool for schools. Like, what do they need? They need to look cool. You know what they need? Even though they don't like corporate bureaucracy, they still need to show up and show that they towed the line in order to be successful and still have a job at these big companies. You know what they want? In a perfect world, that they want that HR and people stuff didn't exist. And what do they care about? They care about their own image in the organization. So that tells me I'm not making judgments on my too cool for schools. In fact, what I'm doing is saying, how do I super serve them? I know what they want. I know what they need. I know what they care about. I can choose the behaviors that best super serve them because they are my super fans. And you're going to do that for every single one of these. And I also want you to use that methodology to think about your boss, because remember, your manager can be your biggest career amplifier or your biggest career staller. Let's take a look at step number 2. This is all about knowing what you stand for today. Now, many of you came by our booth earlier, and we've got some of the Post-its outside. People were putting up 3 words that describe them. One of the big words that kept coming up is authentic, right? Authenticity. We keep talking about being your best authentic self. Well, this is where it really makes sense, because we can smell inauthenticity a mile away, and it reeks. So I have people come to me all of the time. They're like, I want my brand to be like Oprah. I want my brand to be like Sheryl Sandberg. I want to be like Tim Cook. And you know what I say? You ain't Oprah, and you're never going to be her. Because you are you, and what you want to be is the best you that you can be. So this is not about looking at someone successful in your company and saying, oh, I'm going to copy their brand. We have to start with who we are today and what we are known for. So here's the dirty little secret. You know, where we went to school, all of those certifications we have, all of those things that we load into LinkedIn. Guess what? Now that you work at your company, nobody cares where you went to school. So you might have that really fabulous, diploma up from Wharton or Harvard or MIT. But guess what? When you come into meetings, if you show up late, if you don't listen to people, if you roll over other people's ideas, your brand ain't Harvard, it's a jerk, right? Because how you operate is what really defines how you lead with your brand. How you show up, what people see you do and hear you say, is what defines how you lead with your brand. So we are going to ask you, what words describe you? What words do people use to describe you now? What words do you use to describe yourself? So we've got to make this easier. Let's get creative like marketers. Here's what we would ask. If you were a type of car, what type of car would you be? If you were a type of car, what type of car would you be and why? Now, I told you I'm obsessed with Jeep Wranglers, right? And some of you are looking and going, well, you're not that butch and outdoorsy, Jason. And you're right, because I'm not that kind of Jeep Wrangler. You know what? I'm the Jeep Wrangler that was Alicia Silverstone as Cher in Clueless, driving around with Dion with crazy outfits through Beverly Hills, honking our horn and running through stop signs. You know why? Because I'm showy, I'm fun, I'm a little bit sassy, right? That's the type of Jeep Wrangler that I am. Now, I will tell you, I was doing this pre-COVID in a really huge ballroom, and a woman stood up and she said, I want to share my car. I went out into the audience. She said, Jason, I am a beat up old station wagon. And like 3,000 people laughed at this woman, and she grabbed the mic back from me and she said, no, you know what? I'm a beat up old station wagon and I'm proud of it because I've been around the block a few times. I've got dings on my doors, but it doesn't matter because I've got 5 gigantic doors in a big cab and I can pull all of my team members in and I can get everyone from here to New York City safely, reliably, and dependably because I don't care about that flash and that gloss. And everyone was silent, and suddenly they gave this woman a standing ovation because in like 30 seconds, she was authentically able to describe her brand. So everybody stand up, find a different partner that's near you. I want you to share what type of car you are. If you were a type of car, what type of car would you be and why, and go. All right, shh. We're coming on in, shh. Stay where you are, stay where you are. I need a volunteer who was someone that had a really great car and why they were that car. I'm running over here. Look, I'm doing my best Oprah right now, but no, you're not winning a car. Come on up here. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Erica from Capital One, probably the only Capital One person here.
Yay, and Erica, what type of car are you? And look that way so the folks at home can see you.
Hi, everybody at home. I've always driven Audis. I love them. And so Audi has like the TT, they're like little coupe. And I was thinking, I've always wanted one. I was thinking about this when you talked about it. And so the idea is that I'm fast, I'm flashy, I'm fun, I'm always a lot of fun, but it's a German car, so it's well engineered, it's well designed, it lasts forever, it's always solid and dependable.
Ooh, I love that, right? Because this is that Erica is at the intersection of all of these reliable, great engineering, durability, and looking hot.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
All right, give Erica a huge round of applause. Thank you, Erica. Right? And so, here's what I'd like you to do. If you look at your phone, I'm asking you to think about 3 words that describe you. For those of you at home, go ahead and put what 3 words you would use to describe yourself. That can come from, right, your conversation just now. It can come from things that you've heard. We're asking you to do 3 words, but I'm going to tell you your homework is going to be grabbing your Post-its, and I want you to write down as many words as you can that describe you. In fact, I would challenge you to ask your colleagues, ask your friends, what words would they use to describe you? Go on Slack, go on WhatsApp, ask your career audience what words they would use to describe you, because these are going to help you find all of your stuff. So look at this, passionate and reliable, those look, and reliable, passionate, and dependable right now look like our biggest words up here, right? They are our biggest words up here. And now, again, if you want copies of any of the materials, or if you want to enter our contest, if you love this branding stuff, we're offering 20 spots for an exclusive O&ESummit cohort in our Career Breakthrough program, where you will virtually build an entire brand book, and that's available on your mobile phone right now. Terry, let's flip it back into the slides. You want to come up with all of these words because these are authentically who you are. So it comes back to those 3 words that describe you, but words are words. Remember, we said it's what people see and hear you say. So right now, I want each of you to choose one of the words that you put in there. Just choose one, because we're gonna do some work on one of those words. Everybody choose one of those words that you either put into the survey or you were writing down on your Post-it. You got that word? What we need to do is we've gotta peel the onion. We have to peel the onion because we need to say, hey, if I'm reliable, if I'm dependable, if I'm passionate, remember how I said I'm a very specific type of Jeep? What is your specific type of dependable, reliable, or passionate? What does it look like and sound like on you? So I want you to imagine for yourself that you have been cast in a new reality show. You have been cast in the Real Housewives of O&ESummit. We have been following you with a camera crew all summit in all of the sessions at night out. When you went to Senior Frogs the other night, that camera crew was following you. Now we are sitting here in the edit bay and we are watching that video. I want you to tell me, what would we see you do? What would we hear you say that other people would come back and describe that as your word? So I'm looking for a volunteer. Is there a volunteer that wants to come up and peel the onion with me on one word? Who wants to do it? I know we've got it. Erica, get on up here. Everyone, give them a round of applause. Thank you, Erica. And Erica, we're bringing you up so that our folks who are coming in on Pathable can see you better. So, Erica, what was one of the words that you want to do?
Let's do real.
Okay, real. Right? Anyone else have real? Okay, good. So that's a unique word. That's a great start. But if we were watching videotape, because again, you're the new star of Real Housewives of O&E, right? What would we have seen you do or hear you say during the summit, specific situations that we would all be watching it on TV and go, Erica, super real.
Super real. So I was on a panel the first day here, letting in versus, coming out versus letting in. And someone asked a question about, as a trans woman out in the marketplace, how do I put myself out there? How do you address like that conversation with HR? And I could tell that they were really sort of nervous about this question. And just sort of sat there for a second. And my response was, if I bring it up right off the bat, not that I'm looking Capital One. And I always address that right up the top because my point of view is, if you can't handle the real me, and I talk that way all the time in my projects, the teams that I lead, then that company is not big enough for me to work there.
Awesome, right? Round of applause. So Erica, what I'm hearing for you, one, real is about being very clear what your values are.
Yes.
And that you go to places that are a match with your values.
100%.
Right? So that's an example of being real. I'm going to actually dissect when you were on that panel. It sounds like part of you being real is also being really candid about your own journey and your own story.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's another element. Give me an example back at work that is not ERG specific, but how do you show up as someone who's real on the project teams that you're on?
Okay. I work with a lot of data scientists who are amazing, but also very buttoned up people. So this is what they deal with every day. And so I start every meeting with like, how are you doing? Which is common, but like, what did you do yesterday that made you feel good about your job or your passions at home or your family or whatever? And we break that ice so that, and I talk from my own experiences, like I had a crap day yesterday, or like, you know, I spilled my lunch all over the floor, right? I come with vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
And so that opens the door for them to tell me who they are. And then when we get down to business of project and data science and machine learning and AI, we are able to focus on who we are. But more importantly for me, that helps us focus on who our customer is. We put the people in front and we start with our own vulnerability.
Absolutely. So are you hearing this? This is gold, right? Because this is what Erica means when they say real, right? Is showing up at a meeting and being really honest about things that have happened in their life, right? About facilitating from other people, not sitting in the back and waiting for the meeting to start. Erica's there saying, hey, how's it going? What did you do yesterday? What's going on in your world, right? That active element is what real looks like on Erica.
Yes.
So give Erica a huge round of applause. Thank you, Erica. And Erica, thank you for everything you're doing for our community as well by being so real. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to peel the onion and say, what do those words look like on me? What does dependable look like on me? What does reliable look like on me? What does passionate look like on me? Because guess what? There were a lot of reliables and passionates and dependables up there. What makes you unique if almost everyone at O&E is those things, right? Now you are unique, but we kind of keep using the same labels. So I want you to think, what does it really look like? What does it sound like? Because for Erica knows exactly if I want to show up as real, here's a whole set of behaviors that I can replicate every single day. So what you are going to come up with, we asked you 3 words. I really want you to come up with anywhere from 4 to 8 words. And you can get as many words as you want, but you want to cluster them together. Like, what are the words that are synonyms or that have really great similarities? You want 4 to 8 of those, because these are those words that are your tailwind words. They propel you faster. They let you get to your end destination with more efficiency. These are the things that when you are known for that, it makes it easy for you to get into the room and to wow your super fans, right? You want 4 to 8 of those words to do that, and there's a spot in your workbook where you can capture those. Now, I'm looking at, where's my Boeing people? Any Boeing people in the house? Yay! I fly a lot, so I love 777s and I love 787s, right? We all know that when we're flying a plane, there's also headwinds. Right? There are headwinds that create drag on our brand. All of us have one of those headwinds, maybe even a couple of those headwinds. I want you to focus on your tailwinds, but I want you to be aware of those 1 or 2 things, those 1 or 2 words that people might use about you that actually create drag on your brand and trump all of the great things in your tailwinds. So everyone think of that word. Even if they're inaccurate, right? Even if they're inaccurate. So everyone think of that word. On the count of 3, we're going to just yell it out into the universe. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Okay, because here's the first step. If we don't acknowledge it, we can't do anything about it. So I love that you said, even if it's inaccurate. Let me give you an example, because we're going to have to go back and peel the onion. A few years ago, got feedback, not necessarily feedback like that was direct, but people use the term, oh, you're a perfectionist. And I was like, I don't agree with that. I'm not a perfectionist. I have typos. I have a sloppy desk, right? I'm a creative person. I'm not a perfectionist, right? But I realized, even though I don't agree with it, it's real for other people. And sometimes I'm using all of my tailwinds, and that one thought about being a perfectionist erases everything else. So I thought to myself, hey, one of these people is a big executive I'm helping with business transformation. One person is one of my vendors. One person is a 1-under-1 direct report who I'm coaching through a project. What's up with that? They don't work together, but they're all using that same word. I've got to peel the onion. What are they seeing me do? What are they hearing me say? I go to my sent box, I look at my Outlook, and suddenly I know. Here's the last email that I sent to one of them. Here's all of the things that you need to fix in this project plan. And then there was 35 bullets of things that were like the legal line's wrong, fonts off, doesn't match the style guide, right? All of these different types of things. And suddenly I was like, oh, maybe I now know why they're calling me a perfectionist, because I'm like a school marm with a big red pen circling their work. But then I said to myself, well, that doesn't matter, because I'm a coach. I'm an internal consultant. I'm here to help people get their work be better. But it suddenly dawned on me, especially with that business executive, I could help that business executive get to exactly what she was looking for. I could help her do all of those things with my tailwinds, but she could turn around and not refer me to another person within our company, because she might say, oh yeah, it was really great, but Jason's a little perfectionist, a little difficult to work with. And it didn't matter that I did help her have an amazing output. So I can't change the word, but I can change my behavior. I can change the way that I do that email. And that's exactly what I did. So I want you to think about, what are the headwinds in your career? What are those words? Even if you don't believe it, peel the onion. What are people seeing or hearing you say that you can change the behavior? Now, let's get real. I'm gonna skip ahead. Like, what words do people use to describe LGBTQ plus people at work? Because that's real, right? These are biases. What is it that people say? Good, bad, and ugly. Yell some things out. Sassy, sexy, unprofessional, extra, right? Difficult to work with, aggressive, activist, right? And there's all sorts of other fashionable, right? There's all these things in there. Guess what? Those are all those are all of the headwinds that people just assume about us because we're part of the community. That just is, and it sucks. And for those of us that are intersectional, we have all of those different elements and biases that come in. So what it tells me is we can't control that societal bias, but what we need to make sure is that people see us. We need to come forward, because if I don't replace that, I'm just the gay guy that works in HR. You're just the trans person that works in IT. And that's not what we want our brand to be. Our brand isn't our identity. Our brand needs to be the value that we bring. So let me look at refine who you want to be, because this is where we are going to provide like the gusto here, right? Is you know these words, you've come up with 4 to 8 of these words. Well, guess what? You need to be unique, you need to be differentiated, because really cool brands don't use coffee language. So if you are walking around saying you are a team player and you are reliable and you are dependable and you are fun and everybody else says that, that is coffee, that is not Starbucks. So guess what? We are going through the drive-through right now. We are going to McDonald's and we are not getting small words. We're not getting medium words. We're not getting large words. What type of words are we getting? Super-sized words. Great brands have super-sized words. So you are going to take your authentic words, and I want you to turn up the volume to show how they really are uniquely you. So let's take a look. I want you to make them into superpowers. Here's my favorite superhero, Wonder Woman, right? If your words were a superhero, what would that superhero be? Let's look at some real brands because they use cool words. Now, over a decade ago, I helped build the brand for the Los Angeles LGBT Center. We are the largest LGBTQ plus nonprofit in the entire world, almost 1,000 employees servicing across 9 locations. And we run programs around the world, including China advocacy, and work with folks in Eastern Europe and creating models that are used around the United States. These are the words that we came up with, and they are supersized, right? We are compassionate, we are strong, we are courageous, we are inspirational, we are relentless. This is the DNA of our organization, which also is the largest and oldest LGBTQ plus organization that's still around. Now, here's what I love. Remember, we talked about DNA? We gave these words to a graphic artist, and this is what they came back with. These were just for a presentation to get approval from our board of directors, and we came back and said, wow, see, that's the power. When you tell people what your brand is, you can package visuals around it. Let's take a look at Oxygen. Some of you remember the old Oxygen before it was all crime all the time. It was about Generation O serving the first generation of urban women living on their own. They said, here's our supersized words. We are independent. We are emotional. We are sexy. Now remember, you have all of these Post-its with words. You're going to create these, which is your word bank. So you're going to have 4 to 8 supersized words, but then you get to fill in a word bank, because independent means free, self-sufficient, opinionated, unaffected, confident, with attitude, right? Emotional means energetic, moving, expressive, animated, feeling, right? So you can create a word bank. Guess what? We're all getting ready to do our annual self-assessment. Your word bank should be all of the words that you use about you. Your LinkedIn profile should be all of the words that are your brand words, right? Now, remember we talked a little bit about headwinds here. Let's take a look at the old Bravo, and this is like from many years ago. But look, they said, we are fun, we're witty, we're entertaining, we're bold, we're breezy, we're forward-looking, we're smart, we're confident. Sometimes our tailwinds, when they get too loud, actually become our headwinds that are dragging us back. Bravo realized that, so you know what they said? They said, we're fun, but we're never silly. They said, we are smart, but we're never academic. And they said, we are sexy, but we're never vulgar. They define where the volume gets too loud, and it actually becomes their headwind. So think for yourself. I am sure all of you have found you have one of those great tailwind attribute words that when you use it too much, people take it the wrong way. So you can do this as well. I know you're looking at me and you're like, well, Jason, this is hard. Well, this is my brand here. I know media, entertaining, LGBTQ plus knowledge, networked, well-traveled, innovative, a good presenter, right? Raise your hand if you are 3 or more of these things. Okay, so those are a lot of people. Am I Starbucks right now or am I coffee? Yeah, I'm coffee. Like a lot of people can say that. So you know what? I supersize these words. Let's see what they become. Ding, 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 bam. Oh, whoops, if I hit the right button. Yay, tech is fun. Here we go. Good presenter becomes storyteller. I'm Hollywood. I'm a first mover, a super connector, a showman, an advocate, and a jet setter. Is that Starbucks? Is that super premium? Yes. Right? Let's take a look at it again. I started with things like good presenter and entertaining. I peeled the onion and I would go ask people, hey, you always give me feedback, I'm a good presenter or I'm entertaining. People would say, oh, Jason, when you told that story about working with that client, we really got it. I would hear that over and over and I suddenly was like, yeah, you know what? It's not that I'm some great presenter. It's actually that I'm a great storyteller. Right, that's what differentiates me. I would ask people and I would say, hey, you always say I'm fun and entertaining. What do you mean by that? And they would say, hey, Jason, you can like herd cats. You can get people to do all sorts of wild things. You're like a 3-ring circus. And I suddenly realized, oh my gosh, it's like that I'm a showman. Right? I can get up on stage, I can do all of these things. In fact, do me a favor right now, everybody stand up because we're gonna get this whole room to take a selfie for Out and Equal. Everyone up. Now, everyone give me, we're doing jazz hands, woo! Oh, right, thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause, right? But that's all about being a showman, right? I even looked at something like being networked. And guess what? I grew up on the Universal Studios lot in Hollywood. Everyone's well networked. I would ask people and they would like say, well, Jason, when I'm working on a project and I tell you what I'm doing, you know 3 people that can help me. And you connect us on LinkedIn, you connect us on email, and you let us have our own relationship to create great things because you're actually a super connector. So here's what I want you to do. Turn to a partner next to you. I want you to take one of those words that you chose, and I want you to work with a partner and supersize it. Now, you could also do in a trio, just choose one person's word and do a little bit what Erica and I did. How do we define what that looks like as a supersized word? Are you ready? And go. Talk to someone next to you. All right. Shh. We're coming in. This is a great conversation, and I know we've got some folks. Is there anyone that was able to supersize a word that wants to share? Who wants to share one of their supersized words? We're in a room full of LGBTQ plus folks. I know someone here is supersized. Who wants to share? Okay, I'm seeing a hand. Come over up to the end aisle there, and I'm coming over, and we're gonna introduce yourself. Turn that way towards the camera so they can see you. Introduce yourself and where you work.
I'm Joseph, and I work at Deloitte.
Yay! So, Joseph, what was the word you started with?
Excitable.
Excitable, and that's already maybe not necessarily that coffee, but what did you supersize it to?
Activator.
An activator, right? Look at that. So suddenly that sounds much bigger than excited, right?
Yeah.
An activator, right? And what's one thing that you do at work that you show up as an activator?
Every meeting I start with like a new playlist every week, so I always like make it so that's energetic and, and I actually started it now, everyone does it.
Yeah, okay, right? So that's exactly it. Give Joseph a huge round of applause. I saw another hand back here who wanted to share. Yeah, over here. Come on up. Come over here so that we can see. We're gonna find our hot spot so the camera can see you. Turn and look at the camera so the folks at home can see. Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Gareth and I work at Marsh & McLennan.
And what was the word you started with?
It was adaptable.
Adaptable. Okay, and I love that. And that's authentically you, but it's authentically a lot of people, right?
Sure.
So what does adaptable look like on you? How did you supersize it?
What was the word again? Visionary.
Visionary. Yeah. Right? Now, doesn't that sound a lot different? And tell me what's one thing you do at work where you show up as visionary?
So I'm a creative in a corporate company, so I always have to try and break the mold, I guess. So we have a strict style guide, and I have to try and adapt to that, especially for like LGBT projects I'm doing,
Yeah.
which is quite hard actually, because it's very strict styling. So
Yeah, but I love that you said, I break the mold on everything,
sure.
right? And that's visionary. All right, give them a round of applause. Thank you, Garrett. So that is the work that you all want to do. Now, guess what? You can come up to 4 to 8 supersized words that are going to become your brand tailwinds. And then I want you to fill it in. You can see in that workbook, there's a place to fill it in where we can say visionary, which includes, and you're going to create that word bank. And you're gonna create those words that are never, right? I'm visionary, which includes being active, engaging people, breaking the rules, but it never means being a bull in a china shop. It never means being aggressive. It never means being a steamroller. And suddenly you've got words that you're gonna use and words that you're never gonna use because they're your no-fly words. Now those no-fly words, guess what? If you hear feedback where people describe you that way, you gotta go back and peel the onion because it's telling you you're operating off-brand in a way that you don't want to show up, and only you can change your behavior there. Now we've just got a couple minutes left, so we're gonna just highlight these steps here. These are your homework. Once you create that, that's your brand DNA. Right? That's your brand DNA. Then you have to keep up your image. Now we get to package these things like how you dress, how you maintain your workspace, how you present ideas, right? If I say that I'm gonna be about Hollywood, then I'm wearing pocket squares and fun things, and I'm wearing a friggin' maroon corduroy jacket, right? Like I've gotta show up on brand. I have to shave a part in my hair at 6:30 in the morning. I've gotta wear nerd glasses if I'm saying I'm a jet setter, right? I'm gonna package all of that stuff, and guess what? My Zoom background, my Teams background, what my cubicle or office looks like, it needs to reflect those things. Now, this is not about being a fashionista. At minimum, they need to be neutral. What you don't want them to be is detracting from your brand. So you can't say, ooh, I'm organized, I'm the best project manager, and we see a pile of laundry on an unmade bed behind you, because we trust what we see versus what we say, right? We can say we're organized, but if I see that, my mind says you are not that. Most importantly, I want you to think about how you produce your signature projects. This is what I call a brand filter. Your homework is to think about the 3 or 4 projects that you are most proud of, that are most you, that you've accomplished in the past 2 years. I want you to look at those projects because they're all probably different. What's the secret sauce that you brought to those projects that made them your own? How can you make a list of things that you do on every single project that make it a Jason project? It makes it a you project. And guess what? You need to apply that even more so to the projects that you don't love. Because you want to put your fingerprints all over everything you do. Because we're all smart people. We all work for big corporations, right? If we weren't there, someone else would do that project. But what we want to know is, what is it that you bring to that project that people say, it could have only been done by you? When we gave it to you, we got the project plus all of this other stuff. That is about how you produce your signature projects, right? Now, our final step is about promoting yourself. This is the tough part because you must be your own chief marketing officer. Nobody else cares more about your career than you. And let's be clear, we all work for great companies that have performance management systems and talent development. Heck, they paid for you to come here as part of your development in your career. But don't forget, no one cares more about your career than you. So you've got to promote yourself. Here's 3 ways you can do it. The first one is advertising, and you cannot throw this away. This is what you say about yourself. This is your elevator pitch when you've been meeting people here at Out and Equal. This is your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a photo, you're not doing your own free advertising. If your About You section is not filled in, that is free advertising. That is your billboard. That is your 30-second TV spot. That is that Instagram ad that's flying by. You craft and control it, so don't throw away free advertising. Guess what? Your self-assessment that you're doing by the end of the year, that is your free advertising that sits in your company's talent development platform. Then you gotta think about endorsement, right? What do influential people say about you? What do people know you for? So many of you are here, and you are here for the first time in years with your executive champion. Are you making a meaningful impression on them? Do they know what you are doing? Do they know where you want to go and what you stand for? So that when they get back and they are in C-suite meetings, they are saying, hey, I spent some time in Las Vegas with this person. Here's what they're working on, and they are advocating and endorsing you. And finally, it is word of mouth. That is what gets said about you, even by people who don't know you. It's what gets said about you when you're not in the room. That's the hardest one, and the only way we can control it is by showing up consciously competent, making strategic choices as how we want to be seen at work by our actions and our behaviors. So there you go. There are our 5 steps. If you look on your phone, we are happy to send you all of these materials, and we've got stuff on Pathable as well. But make me a promise right now, folks. In your career, never, ever be a boring commodity like coffee. I want to make sure you are all super premium brands. Thank you so much. Lead with your brand and have a great time on our final day here at Summit.